Testing, testing, 1, 2, 3. Testing, testing, 1, 2, 3. Testing, 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 testing. And system sound. And we got to turn that up. Bum diddly bum diddly bum diddly bum 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 bum. Greetings, my dear friend. It is time for a transcendental moment together on YouTube. You can't help it when you hear stuff like that. You just gotta. Hi, hey there, hello there. This is RHJunior, RHJunior, Reality Check Live, coming to you live. Already regretting this music in the background here. Let me turn that down. Okay, that is really distracting. Back to the rain on the roof. Nature thunder. Alright. Takes a disturbing amount of time for the sound mixer to load these days. Alright. Once again, it is Spleen Squeezins. I don't know what it is. This dashboard, the video on it keeps lagging for some reason. It's sort of, and I have to pay to get the video to run again. I don't know what it is. Hi there! Sitting here, I'm eating my dinner. I've got crackers and peanut butter and a couple of apples and oranges, cutie oranges, those little oranges that, snack size. There. I can't open my crackers. These used to be easy. Oh, come on. I know. Can't get the music to work right. Can't get the... can't get nothing to work right these days. There we go. Bit of a frog in my throat there. Had to stop the recording device, microphone, turn it off. Yes. Now, on my old computer, I used to browse a ton of bugs. I mean, just cajillions of them. Almost daily basis. I quickly got bored of most of them. But nowadays I seem to get all my news leads, as it were, through Facebook. Well, welcome to the internet. They finally, it took forever for me to end up on Facebook. When I finally did, you know, they got me. That was it. I am seriously disappointed in the fact that, you know, there were people going around saying that Facebook is the internet now. Like, oh Lord. Apparently they got a serious problem right now in Texas. Fire ants. Not just, you know, they've always had fire ants out there. But the flooding has brought them up out of this, and it hasn't drowned them. That's the thing. What the ants do, the fire ants clump together, and they form a raft out of their dead bodies of their comrades, and float on downstream. And naturally, any living thing they run into, they swarm right up. You know, stuff right out of a horror movie, you know. I'm like, why aren't there people out there with sprayers taking these buggers out? You know, I mean, this has got to be the easiest they've ever, you know, best opportunity they've ever had to reduce the fire ant population in that state in a long time. It's going to be Friday before I can finally you know, get any shopping done. Bad to have cravings, I tell you. It's, you know, it's bad, you know. It's like a perfect storm of suck. I live in a town with dozens of restaurants, none of which deliver. With 3 or 4 big chain franchise grocery stores, none of which deliver, even though they advertise it all over. Every other state, every other town, every other city, they do this. They deliver, but not here. I think the real killer, the thing that killed me was discovering, hey, McHappy's Donuts. I love donuts, and you know, but I can never seem to get the ones I want. And finally, I find out McHappy's Donuts delivers, and I'm thinking, oh yes, I can finally order like a dozen cream fills and get them. And I call them up. Oh, we don't deliver here in Marietta. We don't deliver here in Marietta. They do in, you know, they do in Parkersburg is right across the river, to give you an idea. It's about 15 miles away from here, and right across the river. And it's killing me. We got 3 Chinese restaurants. None of them deliver. I feel like somebody is dangling everything I want, just an inch out of my reach, going, "Dance, monkey!" I'm in no danger of starving to death, make no mistake about that. But I may just go out of my mind. I'm like a dog who sees a huge pile of doggy treats just on the other side of a glass window. And it can just, and your brain, and it just keeps telling you, there's got to be a way, There isn't. My own fault. I've lived here for 5 years and I haven't really made the acquaintance of any of my neighbors, except in passing. And I don't even remember the names of some of the people that live here. Not my next door. I've talked to them, and even begged a battery jump off them a couple of times. But I don't know anybody on the left side, don't know anybody on the right side, don't know anybody on the right across the road from me. Don't know them personally. Don't know their names. So, and that's my own fault. And so now, when I'm up a creek, I can't go, I can't, call them up. I don't even know their number. I couldn't begin to call them up. I can't call them up and ask for a favor. Could you run down to the store for me? Or could you run down to McHappy's for me and give me a dozen donuts? I'll pay, Can't do it. And short of getting out, just climbing my way down my front steps, waddling down the road, knocking on their door. "Hi, I'm practically a stranger. Would you mind going to the store for me?" It's just not a happy thing. It's not. Well, they got a movie coming out on Netflix. It's a post-apocalyptic thriller where Texas invades Brooklyn. And, of course, the people in Brooklyn, the New Yorkers kick all the Texans' butts. Because they're just so badass, Yeah. Texas, some of the most heavily armed people on the planet, much less in the United States, versus a bunch of people who fold like wet toast when the power goes out. Yeah. You want to re-roll those dice? Yeah, this whole ridiculous thing about these. What does it tell you? These brave, heroic social justice warriors found somebody they could fight. Statues. You know, that's about their speed. Declaring war on inanimate objects. And they're still losing. There are a bunch of people, they were never taught, you know, erasing the past doesn't make it go away. That's their goal. They think that if they erase the past, it'll go away. And they want to remove any reminder that people might disagree with their worldview. Or there might be people who oppose or even rebel. They got a thing, these Enchroma glasses. Enchroma, E-N-C-H-R-O-M-A. They're supposed to be a special kind of lens that lets colorblind people see in color. Apparently, I've been baffled as to how this is supposed to work, but it turns out what it is that it filters out a very narrow band of light that lets the retina cones differentiate from red to green instead of firing at the same time. Makes sense. And apparently they work. And according to the eye doctors, I am partially colorblind. I'd like to try these on, see what the difference is, see if there is a difference. I don't know if anybody's out there listening. I don't know how the excuse me. All right. Hello, everybody. All two of you. I'd hate to see what my rating is on the YouTube viewership thing. Of course, the viewership rating, I don't know what to make of that. Don't know what to make of that. Because, let's be fair. There's a guy who does nothing but film himself smoking his pipe in different locations. In not exotic locations, places in his house. He's just standing there, puff, 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 and he's got like 1 million viewers or something. If I have an audience, I have no idea where it is. There's an audience for everything, truly. Fine, where's mine? Alright. Let me get the art program started. Is the art program? No, I didn't. Forgot to boot up Manga Studio. Booting up the Manga Studio. Bum, 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 bum. This would probably go a lot smoother with a more advanced, a more powerful computer. I get a feeling that the computer. I mean, this thing bogs down, sometimes on playing Candy Crush, like I said. So that's the thing. Say what you will, but my benchmark for how well a computer performs is how well it plays a certain game. Way back in the days of yore. I used to play City of Heroes, and I had to put the settings on that thing. City of Heroes, old school, we're talking here. Like 10 years old now. How long has it been since City of Heroes went offline? But anyway, I had to turn the settings all the way down to play it. And even then it was kind of, eh. I tried to play Champions online with my computer. Couldn't handle it. Choked on it. I don't know what graphics engine they use for Champions online, but they have got to toss that sucker and get a new one. Because every other game, it is obviously needlessly overcomplicated. It's bloatware apparently. Because I eventually got a computer that could handle World of Warcraft, very nice, and at full settings too. I got a computer that could handle World of Warcraft and City Heroes, and could handle all these other games. But Champions, you have to constantly turn the settings down and it's not very detailed graphics, even at full bore. It's very very poorly picked. Now Wildstar, I think most of it is because of the character designer. The character designer in Champions Online is very, very flexible. You can design just about anything, and it's amazing the stuff you can come up with. Perfect flexibility. but it pays for that in that the graphics engine, the program itself is slow, and you need a blazing fast, powerful computer to run it at any kind of decent level of graphic detail. There's no way the average. This is part of the reason that World of Warcraft has held on for so long. I came to World of Warcraft late. I had played City of Heroes, and I had kept having to turn my graphics down, and it didn't look very good. I played Champions, and I had to turn my graphics down even further because it looked even worse. And I figured, oh, World of Warcraft is going to suck. And I turn it on, boom! It was gorgeous. It was gorgeous compared to what I was dealing with normally. I played the free sampler, of course, the first 25 levels or so you can play for free. And I ran it, and it was awesome. It was so awesome. And I loved it. And I went back and I looked at Champions and said, why you no work like this? That's the reason that World of Warcraft has held on so long, why it has so many. One of the reasons is that they don't, make the graphics inaccessible to people who don't have bleeding edge software and hardware. It's stupid. The settings are wider. In other words, the graphics have become better and more detailed as time has gone by. They've improved it a lot. Graphics-wise, they haven't stalled out, but at the same time, still, older computers can still run it. Computers that most gamers would go, could run World of Warcraft just fine, so long as you were willing to, have slightly less detailed graphics, fewer tufts of grass growing out of the ground in the background, that kind of thing. You could play it, even on a mediocre computer. Other games, you required a system was far better. And this should tell you everything. My older computers, the computers I used to have, could play World of Warcraft and WildStar, and even with a gut-straining effort, they could play Champions. But this computer can't even play the basics. It's and you can't upgrade it. It's one of those. It's one of those box. I don't know what you call them. A box set. Just pre-packaged computer that you can't upgrade it because this stuff they used to upgrade it, they don't make anymore. And I whined about that a lot, but I whine a lot. I won't pretend I don't. I gripe. Me grouchy. I'm grouchy. You're listening to the sounds of me eating. Isn't that lovely? Right in your ear. Nom, 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 nom. Are you there? Is this lit? Is this working? Blah 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 blah. Let's see. Gmail. Is that why you put them on? Just to have stuff in the background. You can make more of them. I feel so funky. Got a bunch of things going on in the back of my head here, guys. Just going around, pushing and dealing stuff. My idea of being wealthy. Everybody talks about swimming pools and movie stars. You get these people on rich and watching Lifestyles of the Rich and Famous. Remember that show? With a guy with a loud, high voice that talked like this all the time. What was his name? Whatever. And look at these people. These people, they have millions of dollars. They make millions of dollars. They make more. They make more money while they're taking a dump. But if you go by the hour, they make more while they're taking a dump than I make in a year. No lie. You can be forgiven for having a part of your jealous little brain going, there's something wrong with this scenario. But you got these people, I remember watching these people, they had huge swimming pools and just ridiculous mansions and gold-plated faucets in their bathrooms. And my idea of being rich is being so rich is that you can go to the grocery store and just grab whatever off the shelf you want and not have to look at the price tags. That's my idea of being rich. Or going to the gas station and filling it up, not having to look. Just fill it up. Here's what the price is. I've been in situations where I've had like $10 and I'm like, is there any way, I'm standing in the middle of Kroger's going, is there any way that I can stretch this out into an entire bag full of groceries? I'm trying to figure out, maybe I could just eat styrofoam, fill up on that. I don't know. Robin Leach, that's his name. You know, it's interesting. Hollywood has an interesting strata on voices. Let's see, what are their names? Let's see here. Don LaFontaine. You've heard Don LaFontaine. You've heard him all the time. He passed away in 2008. His son has taken up his mantle. He was the voice. He's done like let's see, 750,000 television spots, 5,000 movie trailers. He sounded something like you've heard him before. Let me see if I can get a sample of his voice.
Throughout history, man has marveled at the vast complexity of the universe. Without a single unified voice, humanity is left searching for answers to the unknown. Now, one man has the power to change that and to spread his voice across the earth for all of mankind to hear.
You, Don LaFontaine. And then there's, you got Don LaFontaine, you got the guy who did the voice of Darth Vader, you got you got Patrick Stewart. James Earl Jones. Morgan Freeman. And then you turn around at the end of the scale, you've got Gilbert Gottfried and Fran Drescher, with Robin Leach sort of hovering in there in some sort of limbo in the two extremes. I'm looking up Wild Wired Weasel's prescription. Long years. Tattoo. I'm sorry. I'm trying to get my juices flowing, and it's kind of not happening. Maybe chat a little more then. Let's see. Okay. Guys basically commissioned me to draw Elf Aquaman. I keep forgetting that guy. I keep forgetting Don LaFontaine's name. You'd think after hearing that voice, you'd never forget who it came from. I'm debating on deleting yesterday's episode, yesterday's show. It's just hours of me plexing about my past and my life, you know, all my problems, blah, 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 blah. I don't like myself when I get like that. I don't like it. Nobody else does either, I'm fairly sure. It's not like I'm going to lose a lot of ad revenue from deleting it. Yeah, it just, you know, I'm not that entertaining as a blog, into, you know, web blog, video blog, whatever you want to call it, individual. Not quite. Not quite. Oh, that's just sad. Completely out of proportion right there. Look at that leg. Fingers. That's alright. I think I'm going to have a word with Wildwire. This is supposed to be some sort of aquatic elf, yet he wants him wearing leather pants and boots. Could we please discuss this? That really does not work. It doesn't. And sort of aggravates my sense of, aggravates my common sense something fierce. You know how long leather would last in water? It wouldn't, period. Have I been following the news on Hurricane Harvey? A little bit. It's kind of hard not to. It's everywhere. Well, apparently that nozzle, that pseudo-evangelist showed his true colors. What's his name? Tilton. Or is it Kenneth Copeland? Oh. Kenneth Copeland. Let's see. Let's see. What's his name? Let's see here. Images. No, that's the farty preacher. That's Robert Tilton's the farty preacher. Let's see. No, Kenneth Copeland either. What's? Oh, there he is. Bill Moyers. Bill Moyers, the guy that preaches the prosperity gospel. He refused to let the Dallas, Texas refugees from the flood into his church. He locked the church up, wouldn't let anybody in. Probably in Facebook, I believe. I'm going to switch over to... It's one of my favorite pictures right there. Whatever his name is, who cares? I got some things buzzing around in my head, and I really don't know what to make of them. I really shouldn't have waited this. I decided I'll wait till late tonight. People on, and didn't work out that way. Not worked out I planned. Most people would have had a quality show. Most people would have had. I've been on this broadcast for an hour. Think about it. People will line up around the block to watch 1 hour episode of, well, anything. How many of you remember the movie Chicken Little? It was a cute animated feature. Problem is, they made the usual mistake. They deleted a lot of scenes that would have stitched the story together better. You remember when the pig flips out and starts beating the everlasting crap out of the vending machine at one scene? There are like 2 or 3 scenes they deleted from the final cut that make that scene make more sense. This is one of the problems that directors and writers face when they make a movie, is that you've got these narrow-minded, no other word for it, narrow-minded, blinkered people that insist that a movie has to be exactly within a certain number of minutes. And if it goes 5 minutes over, or it's 5 minutes, you got to cut that pace out. And the editors are terrible at picking out what to cut out. They cut out parts. If you ever get a copy of the Harry Potter movies, especially the second movie, the Chamber of Secrets, if you look at the special features, they'll show out the deleted scenes. Not even 5 minutes of material, but they cut out parts that were essential to the story. It's rather bad. It's rather sad when they do that. Now, but anyway, Chicken Little. The movie starts out. Chicken Little is trying to bounce back from his big mistake. Because like a year ago, he had done his little sky is falling thing and freaked out the entire town, nearly started a riot. And Vince came out and everybody realized it was just an acorn. And the movie started, and he bounces back because he manages to make the winning run in the Little League baseball team. His reputation bounces back, and just as he's starting to celebrate having his life back on track, boom, he gets hit in the head by another piece of sky. And he's freaking out. It turns out that the thing is a piece of camouflage plate off the bottom of a flying saucer, and it's a hilarious movie. And he has to try and convince the whole town to believe him that we're being invaded by aliens. Well, thing is that Chicken Little is a lesson. The original lesson of Chicken Little is a lesson that people today desperately need to learn. Kids today and the adults that used to be, the kids that were kids when this movie came out are in college now, and they desperately need to hear this lesson. It's amazing how these old folk tales, the lessons that they're supposed to impart, seem to have been lost on an entire generation or more. Because the original lesson of Chicken Little is that to beware of scaremongers, because they will lead you right down the throat of the wolf. The end of Chicken Little was, the end of the original Chicken Little story was not a happy one. The Chicken Little panics, and all the animals run off to find a solution, and the fox tricks them into believing that he has the solution, and they march off, and the wolf devours them all. And goes halvesies with Mr. Fox. And this is a lesson that nobody has learned. What have we seen? What do we got? The global warming scare. And now it's now they call it climate change. Every environmental scare. I can list you off. Okay, acid rain. Remember when acid rain, when we were all going to have this horrible acid? Turns out, false scare. The AIDS epidemic. The AIDS was supposed to spread from the homosexual community into the heterosexual community and kill us all. Guess what? Nope. Then there was the ozone layer. Remember when the ozone layer was falling apart and we were all going to die? Hey, guess what? Turns out that that thin spot in the ozone layer over the North Pole, 1, is a natural phenomenon, and 2, is cyclical. It might have something to do with the fact that the radiation output from the sun is also cyclical. Thurba, thurba, thurba. And I can go on. I can remember at least 2 cycles where we were supposed to have global warming, then we were supposed to have a new ice age, then we were supposed to have global warming again. I'm that old. I'm only 46, and I remember that cycle. I can show you covers of Time magazine. You know, one of them was predicting that we were all going to freeze to death, and there were scientists inside in the article talking about how they could save the Earth if they planned. This was an actual plan. They were going to cover the South Pole with lamp black, black powder. To darken the South Pole, to darken the Earth, and to absorb more sun, so that more glacier surface would melt and it would warm the planet up more. They actually planned on this. They actually were suggesting this to the government as a plan. But the they scaremonger people into giving, but that caused more damage than the disaster they were predicting. Chicken Little. But nobody in this generation has learned that lesson. In fact, my point about the movie, the Chicken Little cartoon movie, subverted it. The whole message of the story, it was, instead of being, be careful about scaremongers, turned into, the scaremongers are probably going to be right anyway, so we'd better listen to them or the aliens will conquer us, And then there's the lesson, the boy who cried wolf. The boy who cried wolf. The media, the press, everybody's a Nazi. Everybody's been, it's been, again, they get a new name to call everybody that doesn't agree with their agenda. First we were all racist, then we were all bigots, then we were all Klansmen, then we were all now we're all Nazis. It's funny how the Democrats had nothing bad to say about the Nazis until like 50 years after they'd been defeated. Same with the communists, 20, 30 years after the collapse of the Soviet Union, they're finally coming around and saying, not communists, the commies were kind of bad. The first time you see commies as an actual bad guy in a movie was Indiana Jones and the Crystal Skull. Thank you for catching up with the rest of the world that suffered under their control. Oh, and we're also fascists. They had a thing on. There was a live journal post, not a live journal post, a Facebook post. This one poster is saying he went and talked. He visiting his grandparents, visiting her grandparents, and it came up that. He told him about what was going on in the news, that, the Antifa were going around calling Trump a fascist. And his grandparents laughed and laughed and laughed till they nearly peed themselves. Because both his grandparents had lived under a fascist government back during World War II. They had just barely escaped from Italy. And what do we got? We got a government, and we got a media that calls anybody they don't like fascist, Nazi, 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 Nazi. When real Nazis show up, nobody believes them. You know, I'm not so sure that the people that were at that gathering were actually any Nazis in Charlottesville. Even now, because I don't trust the press. Can't trust the press. Because they have been they've been playing Boy Who Cried Wolf and laughing their asses off for decades now. Everybody's a fascist. Everybody's a Nazi. Unless you're an actual fascist Nazi or socialist, then, you know, you're okay. The emperor has no clothes. Remember that? Oh, this is... I used to dream of being, you know, a fine artist. Somebody who painted stuff that would go up in galleries. I still dream of that a little bit, but it's only... I don't even do anything that would approach that. I've sort of given up on that. Maybe I shouldn't. Maybe I should get out. I've still got some paints floating around here. It's some, you know, board, you know, paint board and stuff. Maybe I should take another shot at it. See what I can dabble out. You know. But after several years of being an online cartoonist, you know, that dream is sort of... Who wouldn't dream of being doing, you know, painting something on canvas and having it hang up in a gallery and sell for $1 million? Who wouldn't dream of that? Or even, you know, even selling for enough to pay the rent. That would be nice. But pardon. What was the story of the Emperor's new clothes? I think a lot of people miss the first part of the story. They don't think very much about the first part of the story. They're all focused on, you know, the little boy yelling the Emperor has no clothes. But you back up. Look at the story. What is the story about? These two shysters show up and at the Emperor's court. And they convince everyone through, you know, through loads and loads of gossip and chicanery. They convince everyone that they are so skilled at their craft. They can make a cloth so beautiful that only the truly wise can see its beauty. Now, look at what the modern art community says. You know, if you can't see the artistic value in what I do, well, you're just an ignorant, blind rube. If you don't see, you know, they throw a turd on a canvas, hang it on a wall, and if you don't see the art, they all gather together and point at you and call, "Rube, rube, uncultured." And so naturally, everybody is terrified to contradict these so-called artists and the critics, the gullible drunks who stagger their way from art gallery to art gallery, seeing, depending on who has the most caviar to snorkel down. As long as the critics praise it, everybody's afraid to say otherwise. And that was the story of the Emperor, because everybody knew that there was nothing there, but they were terrified to say otherwise because they knew that everybody else would accuse them of being unwise. And that would cost them everything. If you hang up art in a gallery and it actually looks like something and it's actually beautiful, or it's eye-catching and effort has gone into it, oh well, that's not really art. If you point out this is, you know, if you go into a modern quote-unquote art gallery and point at the crap they got in there, it has gotten so far that they are literally doing, you know, They've done the whole thing. It's no longer a metaphor. There was a guy who actually sold an art gallery their own empty room. No lie. All he did is that he had them empty out a room so he could put his art display in there. And he fiddled with the light switch so that the lights would flicker and left. And that was it. And he gave it a big pretentious title that he stuck on the door. He won a huge government, Great Britain, what do you expect? He won this huge prize for his brilliant creation. And over there in the corner, Captain Picard is going, "There are 4 lights!" Nowadays, if the little boy yelled, "The Emperor has no clothes," they laugh. Nobody would listen to him. They would just laugh, pat him on the head, and usher him off to go to bed early. And the Emperor would continue walking naked right down the middle of the streets of his city. Why does this happen? Well, it starts with the National Endowment of the Arts. The National Endowment of the Arts. When the government... Paying for art is not a government's duty. Okay? Nowhere in the Constitution is a government authorized to support the arts. You want to support the arts? Get off the artists' backs. Stop trying to tax them through the floor. Leave them the hell... Stop trying to censor them. Stop trying to tax them through the floor. Leave them the hell alone and let them make their art. And you'll see some frickin' art. But no, we turned it into a social welfare program where anybody who can sling the biggest pile of bullshit about the crap they've got sitting on a pedestal or on a canvas is the one who gets the free money. And this is established ages ago. A committee is terrible about, art. For all that everybody says that art is an individual matter of taste, we rely on committees to make decisions on what qualifies as art or not. We let a bureaucracy decide what is going to go into our art galleries and what is going to get millions of dollars in government grants. I have lost count of the number of art pieces I have seen, which literally consists of nothing but a canvas painted one solid color and stuck up on a wall. The biggest thing, the NEA, it's a fraud. The people, the NEA should be disbanded. Its people fired and blacklisted from working in government, and some of the heads of their staff should be executed for treason against the state. Heads mounted on pikes out in front of the nearest art gallery. This could be you. And again, it comes back to the grand, grand singularity of liberal thinking. All things are equal because, war is bad, war is conflict, conflict is created by having arguments, arguments are caused by having differences. Therefore, if we convince everybody that there are no differences between both sides, all war will stop. Therefore, the most awful thing in the world is to have discrimination and distinctions and and to discriminate between two different things, and therefore it is evil to discriminate between the bad and the good. Between the good and the evil, between the beautiful and the ugly, between the effective and the dysfunctional, between the success and the failure. That makes you evil if you discriminate between the two. If you decide you like a system that works, or you like art that is beautiful, instead of going for the ugly and dysfunctional, well, then you're a bigot. And if the beautiful, the beautiful, the effective, the good, despite all their efforts, still manages to succeed and win, and the ugly, the evil, and the dysfunctional lose, well, then obviously the winners cheated, because they have to. They don't even believe it themselves, but they have to hold to that dogma as if they did. All ways are equal. Therefore, therefore the ugly and the beautiful are exactly the same. Therefore, they should both get a prize. And the art world has been taken over by this thinking. Oh, for decades, for longer than I've been alive, and it gets worse every generation. The common people do not believe this nonsense. The majority of people do not believe this nonsense. But the majority of people are not the ones with the microphone. The majority of people are not the ones who are standing in front of the television cameras. The majority of people are not the ones who decide where the government is going to hand its money out. If we're going to have an NEA, it's always going to be decided by a tiny little bureaucracy of penny pinchers, pencil pushers, and desk jockeys, who 9 times out of 10 don't even actually look at the artwork. They just fill out the form. They get the form in the inbox, they fill out the form, and they put it in the outbox. So long as the government dumps literally millions of tax dollars in handouts to the ugly, the unaesthetic, and the meaningless, that is the kind of high art, quote unquote, we are going to have in our society. Because even a principled artist has to eat. The people that run a museum, they have to eat too. And as long as the government's only giving money to the ugly and disgusting, they're going to put the ugly and disgusting in their galleries. Because they're all like the emperor's counselors. They're looking to preserve, they're trying to preserve their reason for existing. And even though, look, there have been thousands of people, millions of people have been saying, this is crap. And it's not made a bit of difference. Why? Because that's not where the money is. This is why you should never lobby for a government office to be started. Because there's nothing more permanent than a temporary government organization. As long as the government dumps millions of dollars in government grants and loans into shitty schools, and I'm talking public schools, and I'm talking grade schools, I'm talking high schools, and I'm talking colleges, our educational system is going to be absolute shit. You get what you pay for. And as long as those bureaucrats hand money out to the right people, those bureaucrats and politicians will keep getting elected, or they'll keep, or they'll keep their jobs if they're bureaucrats, and nobody will bother them. It's a self-perpetuating system. And it takes a cataclysmic force to unseat something like that. That's one of the fundamental flaws in America's system of governance. They never considered, the Founding Fathers never considered that they might need a way to unmake laws. Or to remove persistent, incompetent politicians. They never heard of the idea of the Peter Principle, people getting promoted to their level of incompetence. And they couldn't imagine that anybody would want to govern. That was their big short-sightedness. They never imagined that anybody would want to be a congressman for life. Of course, back then, they didn't have nearly the amount of power they do now. But even then, that's incredibly short-sighted. It's even harder to remove a law than it is to write one, and that's a disaster waiting to happen. No matter how you no matter how you cut it. It's easier to get somebody elected than to get them out of office. The tragic thing is, I believe that if Obama hadn't had a term limit, he'd be back in office again. He got voted in twice because he was black. You don't think it would happen a third time? "92% of African Americans, they did a survey. 92% of the African American population flat out came out and said they would never vote for anybody about Obama, because they're white. They would not vote for the guy running against Obama because Obama was black and the other guy was white. Or so they thought. Obama is half white. And he's also he's descended from slave owners on his mother's side. Bill Clinton. He could have been in there for the next, 7 or 8 terms if they hadn't won. Thank God for term limits. Franklin Delano Roosevelt would have run forever if he hadn't keeled over dead. Would have been the end of the Union, too. He was a socialist, died in the war. I'm sorry, everybody says, oh, he won the war, he won the war. No, he didn't. His generals won the war. The American soldiers won the war. Quite frankly, with the American people behind the army and behind the war effort against Hitler and against the Japanese, a trained monkey could have held the job of president at that time and gotten us through the war. In fact, if Franklin Delano Roosevelt hadn't, it might not have turned as well as it did if he hadn't died, because FDR flat out refused. He said he would never allow the nuclear bomb to be used, the atomic bomb to be, and the end result would have been that the estimates were for over 1 million casualties just for the opening salvo of invading Japan. There would have been millions dead, and Japan would have been reduced to rubble. He is not the flawless saint that leftists portray him as. In fact, he was responsible for the prolonging of the Great Depression. His social programs retarded the recovery. And he asked, how is that? He had all these work programs. He had millions of able-bodied young men out there basically building roads to nowhere. Roads that nobody had asked for, nobody wanted. Taking away money and jobs from the private sector.